Make sure you pick up my 2 books that's in Amazon right now. The first one is Passive-Aggressive Racism and the System of White Supremacy. And I talk about in that particular book how the system of white supremacy really runs and on our daily lives here in America. In our latest book, 7 Steps to Decolonize the Mind, we go through those steps to try to deprogram you from the system of white supremacy. Make sure you can pick up those books on Amazon.com.
Introducing the African Diaspora News Channel app, your gateway to stories that's overlooked by the corporate mainstream media.
At African Diaspora News Channel, we cover stories that don't receive mainstream attention, and we serve as the voice to the global Black community. We are committed to informing and educating through the power of media, connecting the African diaspora one story at a time.
With our platform, we're helping to end injustice by exposing it.
Join us in standing for excellence in journalism and serving our community. Download the African Diaspora News app today.
Peace, family. My name is Vicki Dillard for African Diaspora News Channel. Thank you so much for tuning in. As you come in, make sure to give us a big thumbs up, and share the broadcast so that other folks will know that we are here. And for that, we say thank you so very much, family. I have got some juicy news to share with you today, family. Make sure that you share the broadcast and hit that thumbs up button. Yes, watch this, family. Now, you all know, hopefully you got a chance to check out my broadcast from yesterday when we were breaking down the fact that Congress is now looking into, among others, Chicago's mayor. Talk black to me, somebody. Now, this is very interesting. Well, family, let me just say this. My sources on the ground. Y'all know we real media over here. Yes, my sources on the ground gave me some more juicy news. Talk black to me, somebody. They gave me some more juicy news. And I want you to take a look at this. Now, before we get to that, wait a minute, I'm jumping ahead. Before I get to the other bit of juicy news that y'all's mayors out there is in trouble, I want you all, first, let's talk about the fact that there's a lot of backlash right now for Donald Trump because everybody is out here talking about he is getting ready to send the migrants to, guess where? Guess where? They're getting ready to send the migrants to Guantanamo Bay. Now, if you know anything about Guantanamo Bay, and right now I'm going to read just very briefly here. There's an article here from the New York Times that I want to share with you. Everybody is sounding the alarm. People are freaking out, saying that they cannot believe that he's doing this. Well, this New York Times article, the headline here says, y'all can see it probably coming up in just a second. Trump says U.S. will hold migrants at Guantanamo Bay. Do you all see that headline there? Family, now this is a trip. Now, the headline says the president suggests 30,000 migrants, it says, could be housed at the base. It is unclear how the plan, it says, will take shape. President Trump on Wednesday ordered his administration to prepare to house tens of thousands of criminal aliens, that's a quote, at the Navy base at Guantanamo Bay, the latest prong in his widening crackdown on immigration. Mr. Trump did not offer details on how the plan would take shape, but he instructed the Departments of Defense and Homeland Security to get the site ready. It goes on to say, and this is a New York article here I provided to the team, so hopefully you all will be able to see that. But it says we have 30,000 beds in Guantanamo to detain the worst criminal illegal aliens threatening the American people, he said. Some of them are so bad we don't even trust the countries to hold them because we don't want them coming back. So we're going to send them out to Guantanamo. It goes on to say that we could move. He said the move would, quote, double our capacity immediately, adding that Guantanamo Bay was a tough place to get out of. It says in recent weeks, about 40,000 immigrants have been held in private detention centers, and local jails around the country are funded as funding constraints have limited the number of detention sites. Y'all, it's some drama, isn't it? It goes on. It says that adding 30,000 beds would dramatically expand the government's, what does it say here? Yes, detention capacity. A site on the 45 square mile base could hold these 30,000 deportees. The site is the opposite side of the body of water called Guantanamo Bay from the Pentagon's prison for terrorism suspects. Do y'all see that? Now, of course, family, Guantanamo Bay is an absolute disaster, and it is certainly a stain on these United States of America. So there is absolutely no question that Donald Trump is certainly trying to send a very big signal. He's not trying, he is sending a big message for criminals not to come to the United States. Now, I'm going to leave that article for now, and I'm going to read to you from a different one. So I want y'all to listen closely to something. Here it says on Guantanamo Bay, it says 20 years of injustice. It says in this other article that I'm reading from it's called Stop Torture. I didn't provide this one, but I'm just giving you a little supplemental information. It says about how Guantanamo Bay Detention Center is a symbol of torture, rendition, and indefinite detention without charge or trial is over 20 years old. It says that 21 years after the opening of an offshore detention facility specifically designed to evade the rule of law, y'all remember that? The U.S. government continues to detain the 35 men inside the Guantanamo Bay Detention Center. Of the 35 men, most have never been charged with a crime. Now, family, this was written in 2023, the one that I just read from. But the reason why I read you just that one or two sentences, because I'm reminding you that Guantanamo was not only a symbol of torture, right? But rendition and indefinite detention without charge or trial. Not only that, it was designed, it says, to evade the rule of law. So I find this interesting that everybody's tripping out that this is the site that Donald Trump is now instructing the military. Now, I was looking at some other reports earlier today, and guess what? Some of the military folks are tripping because they said that they didn't get proper notice and that the president is just strung this on them, and they did not know he was even thinking about doing this. So they're hustling, having to get the infrastructure and all that ready for Guantanamo Bay. Now, let me tell y'all something. Of course, it is disturbing the history of Guantanamo Bay. How many of y'all know WikiLeaks files and a whole bunch of other stuff helped to expose, among other whistleblowers and sources, the illegality of the United States empire, as well as other Westerners that joined her in keeping these secret sites, torture sites? How many of you all know that it's absolutely diabolical, the history and us taking innocence? Yes? But family, I cannot cry a river right now for people that violated the law to get here, which in America, when you deal with petty crimes, nonviolent crimes, they still call my Black family, friends, and loved ones criminals. And the Republicans and Democrats have never fought about for decades whether or not they're going to label them criminals and come up with a sweet, cushy name for FBAs. See, you Democrats and you Republicans come up with cute little names for criminals like dreamers. You say they dreaming. Nobody has ever come up with some alternative name for Black folks who created the United States of America, that were tortured by the country that we made. Talk Black to me, somebody. I want to tell you something and connect some dots here. How many of you all know that in addition to, and I didn't even provide the team with this document. I don't even know if they're going to have time to put this up. They don't have to. I'm just going to read from an article right now in just a minute, because I'm getting ready to give you an update real quick on Chicago's mayor. In addition to us dealing with chattel slavery, in addition, for those of us that are natives to this land being taken, because some of us were the original Black natives here too. In addition to dealing with convict leasing, in addition to dealing with the injustice of sharecropping, in addition to having to deal with Jim Crow, in addition to Jim Crow and all of its laws that were both local, state, and domestic, which means that our discrimination was codified in multiple laws throughout the United States on multiple levels. That's what we mean when we say Jim Crow. We're saying that there were actual laws and policy, rules and regulations, formal and informal rules and regulations that demanded that we be discriminated against. Colleges, universities, Wall Street, Main Street, grocery stores, education, religion, arts, and entertainment, name it, that affected us. You all do understand that, right? In addition to all of those multiple years, centuries of injustice, do you all know? I'm a 46-year-old woman from Mississippi that now lives in the Wild Wild West in America. Do you all know that similarly to this Guantanamo Bay stuff, I'm reading from an article titled History of Chicago's Reparations Movement. Y'all ready for this? Y'all, this headline, I didn't even give the team this in time, so I don't even know if they have time to put this up, but just listen. I'm giving you the receipts. You can look it up. The article is from ChicagoTortureJustice.org. I told you, I talked about Chicago, been talking about Chicago for years on this network, right? I talked about Chicago yesterday. I'm getting ready to give you another update on y'all's little suspicious mayor. Did you all know this history about Chicago? I've talked about this before too. The headline says, one of the most documented movements against police violence and torture occurred in Chicago over the 30-year span. How many of y'all know about this? Under the command of Chicago Police Department, the CPD, we ain't talking about hundreds of years ago with chattel slavery, family. We're not talking about Jim Crow in the mid-20th century. We're not talking about the modern Jim Crow and prison industrial complex today. Well, indirectly we are. But we want to add this most egregious element of the modern prison industrial complex. Let's call it that. Watch this. Under the command of Chicago Police Department, CPD, Commander John Burge, B-U-R-G-E, y'all research it, over 120 people, predominantly African-American men. Somebody say foundational Black Americans, Chicago men, Illinois men, were tortured from 1972 to 1991. John Burge and officers under his command targeted communities of color. That's us. Y'all know they love that word color. What did they do in Chicago? Where my gavel at? Before we go to talking about illegal criminals that came here and in Guantanamo Bay with its terrible history. How many of y'all know right there in Illinois, Chicago area? Y'all listening? 1972 to 1991, the 90s. John Byrd and his officers under his command targeted communities of color, Black folks, kidnapping and torturing individuals, producing confessions to crimes not committed. Burge was a Vietnam War veteran and used war torture interrogation tactics from Operation Phoenix on the survivors, such as racial epithets. Guess what else they use, y'all? Electric shock, suffocation, and brutal beatings. Y'all know the shocks that they use for the cattle, the animals? Do y'all know that's what they were using on foundational Black men and some women in prisons under John Byrd, even into the 90s, in the Chicago area? Somebody say Guantanamo Bay right here in America. Do you all understand that this is also a part of the history and the disgust that we have with this country, and specifically talking about Chicago and how the Democrats there have spit in the face and stabbed in the back those of us who are their most faithful bloc, voting bloc, and citizens? After being forced to give false confessions, the survivors of torture spent years, some decades, incarcerated. Public officials at the city, county, and federal level refused to take action to stop the torture, although concrete evidence documents the torture. Neither the Commander Byrd nor any officer under his command were ever criminally charged with torture. For decades, survivors, family members, lawyers, community organizers fought to have Burge and his accompanying officers convicted of torture. Milestones in the fight for justice for the torture survivor victims. As of 2016, y'all ready? 20 Burge torture victims have been released from prison and exonerated on the basis of their innocence. Other victims serve their sentences but continues to suffer the stigma of wrongful convictions. At least 20 individuals remain incarcerated as a result of convictions. This is an older article, family, based in whole or part upon the coerced confessions. Survivors are routinely denied evidentiary hearings. Now, I'm going to stop now to tell you what's happened since then. Are y'all listening? Guess what's happened since then, family? Do you all know that Illinois ended up issuing literal reparations checks for some of those victims? The state of Illinois, including residents of the city of Chicago, had to issue reparations checks to the victims of torture. And this article does not do it any justice to tell you exactly what they did there, but that's the justice. It took those many decades, that long, for foundational Black Americans here in the United States. How many of y'all know and may be familiar with the fact that Chicago has a history? They have sites there in Illinois that's known as disappearing sites. How many of y'all know that we use that term disappear as it relates to geopolitical issues when the United States, through their little shady agents, end up taking people from around the world into these secret sites? That's what Guantanamo Bay was based off of. We was never supposed to know about that. I'm simply saying, remember the torture victims here in the United States, the war that's going on here, and some of our folks are barely getting justice, and they were literally tortured even into the 90s. And this is just one that we can prove in no limit of time. And since this article, some have actually received reparations because of the torture. The folks that Trump is talking about putting in Guantanamo Bay are those that knowingly, intentionally, and some raised a whole lot of money to violate federal law to get here. Y'all knew what you were doing when you got here. And it's a shame. But you shouldn't get priority over those of us who are foundational Black Americans and actually citizens of this country. That is what's also a shame. What's a shame is that the whole world is in an uproar over folks that violated laws to get here, and ain't nobody saying a word about the innocence that's locked behind bars here in the United States of America. And that I have given you one example related to a state and a city that's known for this kind of stuff. And it's no exaggeration. And we've been now finally, formally acknowledged by officials that it was torture. John Byrd, the one that headed all this, the one that actually served in the military, he turned around and used those tactics on us. Well, he ended up doing time in prison, but it was over a technicality, not over technically torture. They got him on a technicality, y'all. So he ended up doing a little time in prison for that. So I want to see those of you that's watching me from around the world that's got something to say about America's immigration policies and how you feel that it's unjust and it's not right, and you're defending criminals. I want you to come up with a sweet little cushy name instead of calling Black Americans. Some who were trying to feed their families, some who were entrapped in law, some who went through unjust trials, circumstances, and situations. Come up with a cute name for us, like y'all call dreamers. And then I want you to raise your voice. I want you to tweet. I want you to Facebook. I want you to Instagram. I want you to get out there and YouTube and make videos about how unjust it is that those of us in America, foundational Black American citizens, have been tortured right here on these grounds. And I've given you just one major receipt. Talk Black to me, somebody. I want you to say their names. I want you to say that. I don't want you to tell me about whether or not you getting dual citizenship is the first order of business when we have not even received the full citizenship benefit that we're supposed to be receiving. Do you understand that? I know you long to experience the American dream, but can you please acknowledge the fact that you're doing it based on our very Black American nightmare? Can you acknowledge that? Now, let me give you the latest. I hope the team can put up this article. Y'all ready for this breaking news? I'm going to connect this. I know y'all didn't expect me to connect the torture chamber right here in the United States of America with the torture chamber that was once Guantanamo Bay. Only the previous occupants of Guantanamo Bay were those that were forced there. Those of you that are upset now are people that violated laws to get here, that are criminals and sitting up here crying about not going there. Baby, what does that tell you what you ought not to do? I'm not going to justify Donald Trump's diabolical geopolitical agenda to engage in wars and take over lands and peoples. But I'm not going to conflate that with folks that voluntarily come over here to violate laws and to leech off of resources that Black folks fought for and that we're still not getting. That's two different things. And I know how to separate the two. I'm going to get on his hips. I'm going to hold him accountable for when he acts like a devil. And I'm going to call y'all out when other folks are doing the same. I keep it real here. I want you to look at this. Hopefully you all can see what I'm getting ready to talk about now. Y'all ready for this latest breaking news real quick? Y'all, my people, sent me this breaking news. Y'all ready for it? Now, y'all know we exposed the fact that Congress, U.S. Congress, is asking for important communications, documents, emails, conversations from the office of the mayor in Chicago to let him know, because he doubled down and made it clear that he's not going to do what he's supposed to do, and based on some other suspicious immigration stuff that he's has been alleged to be up to. How many of y'all know that they asked him to come testify in Washington, D.C., but before that, they're asking him to provide a whole lot of documentation that some of us believe is going to reveal some very interesting information. We're going to stay tuned before we talk about exactly what that might be, right? He's under investigation, right? Watch this. Y'all ready? Family, put on your seatbelts. Y'all ready? Put your seatbelts on. Can y'all see this headline? Can y'all see his headline? I don't think y'all can see the headline. What does the headline say? Office of the Inspector General. Yes? How many of y'all know our people rock with me here? Y'all, we set we set the precedent, the pattern over here. African Diaspora. Watch this. What does it say? Y'all can see the date. I got it the day it was issued, y'all. Don't play with me. What does it say? Mayor's wait. Oh, I didn't tell you who it's from. Y'all see the seal at the top, the official seal. What does it say? Office of the Inspector General, right? For the city of Chicago. It says the mayor's office accepted gifts, including jewelry, handbags, alcohol. Lord, Vicki, please read. And alcohol. Y'all, how did he do it? Quote, on behalf of the city. Without public reporting, declined to make the mayor's gift room available for inspection, the OIG finds. Y'all ain't hearing me today. Did y'all hear what y'all see it? Family. This is nothing to play with. I'm going to read you a little bit of this because y'all, I was reading so much of this. Look, I was talking to one of my people. I said, look at what this boy say. And I went down another paragraph. I said, oh my God, look what this say. I said, oh my goodness, look what it say. Y'all real quick, because I can't read y'all all this. This is long, but I gotta hit up some juicy points. Y'all listening? It says the city of Chicago Office of Inspector General, known as the OIG, has released an advisory with recommendations to the mayor's office to improve transparency and accountability around gifts accepted, y'all, quote, on behalf of the city. Black Chicago, did y'all know that alcohol and handbags was being accepted on behalf of y'all city? Did any of y'all get them handbags and alcohol? Vicki, read. It says, as a general rule, I'm reading from the document, as a general rule, gifts accepted on behalf of the city must be reported to the Board of Ethics, which is known as the BOE, right? And the city's comptroller. Those are two agencies, y'all. And those reports are publicly available. Pursuant to a long-running unwritten arrangement dating back to the administration of Mayor Eugene Saar, gifts accepted by the mayor's office on behalf of the city were not reported in this way, but rather were to be logged in a book, which would be available for the public viewing on the 5th floor of City Hall. Y'all, if that ain't suspicious, I don't know what is. But let's watch this. Okay, y'all still doing this little shady stuff, but let's see what happened when people tried to go to the 5th floor. Y'all ready? The OIG visited the 5th floor, y'all, in covert capacity. So that agency went undercover to see if the city was going to follow the rules to try to access the 5th floor, which is their right to do so, right? It says covert capacity. Y'all listening? And asked to see this logbook. That request was denied, and undercover OIG personnel were directed to file a Freedom of Information Act. That's known as a FOIA. I've done FOIAs right here in the state of Colorado because of the shady stuff. I was an activist and I was doing work, doing legal stuff. I was holding some powerful people accountable before they targeted me, baby. They wanted to shut me up. So they play games with you when you start to do these legal processes. That's your right to do. So they filed a FOIA request, right? Freedom of Information. Watch this. OIG did so, again, under covert capacity, constituting a denial. Wait a minute. I skipped a word. It says that they did it under covert capacity, right? Filing the FOIA. The mayor's office failed to timely respond. That's y'all's Mayor Brandon Johnson and them, y'all. His office failed to timely respond, constituting a denial of the FOIA request. Therefore, guess what happened? OIG sent an official document request for the log and received a spreadsheet detailing gifts accepted by the mayor's office on behalf of the city. Chicago, Black Chicago, did y'all know that they was accepting gifts for y'all? It says for the city. Who is the city but the people? That's a quote. The log identified many of those gifts, y'all ready? Including Hugo Boss cufflinks. OMG. Vicki, calm down and stop screaming. The people ain't trying to hear that Mississippi right now, Vicki. Did y'all hear what I said? Hugo Boss cufflinks. Givenchy. Now, see, I need some of that. Gucci. I'll take some of that, family. Kate Spade handbags. I'll take that. A personalized Mont Blanc pen and a size 14 men's shoe as being stored in a, quote, gift room, and others in the mayor's personal office in City Hall. Watch this, y'all. OIG subsequently visited the 5th floor to conduct an unannounced inspection of the gift room. Guess what happened? And was denied access. Y'all, we can't make this up. Are y'all seeing what the receipts say? Y'all see this ain't no document generated from AI. Y'all see that, right? Vicki, hurry up, because it's too much more here, because they give the advisory down below. I'm not going to read the advisory. Real quick. Let me just a couple more things. I'm done. When the gifts are, this is a quote now from this report. When gifts are changing hands, perhaps literally in a windowless room in City Hall, there is no opportunity for oversight and public scrutiny of the propriety of such gifts, the identities or intentions of the gift givers, or what is meant, or rather what it means for gifts like, y'all ready? Like whiskey, jewelry, handbags, and size 14 men's shoes to be accepted. Quote, on behalf of the city, says Deborah Witzberg, Inspector General for the City of Chicago. Quote, it perhaps most important than ever that Chicagoans can trust their city government, and for decades we have given people no reason at all to trust what goes on in the dark. She said these gifts are, by definition, city property. If they are squirreled away and hidden from view, People are only left to assume the worst about how they were being handled. If we do not govern responsibly on the small things, we cannot ask people to trust the government on the big ones. I got chills reading that. She goes on to talk about, the report goes on to say OIG recommended that the mayor's office comply with the generally applicable rules of public reporting of gifts, except on behalf of the city, that the gift room be made available for announced or unannounced inspections by the OIG. In response, the mayor's office indicates that it will allow OIG access to the gift room, but only with, quote, properly scheduled appointment. Family, I'm done reading this. I had to give you the receipts they have so far. Chicago, we're going to keep calling this mess out. Y'all know that I'm going to keep giving you the update. Y'all do not play with me. Every time I report something, y'all be like, Vicki, do another part, keep us updated. Don't say we're not keeping you updated here. Now, this is Chicago's Inspector General's office. That's state. And specifically really more local with the city, because it says the city, right? That has to do with the Chicago, Illinois. The report I did yesterday has to do with the U.S. Congress. That's a whole separate issue. Y'all's mayor, y'all's city got a whole lot going on. And I'm saying that the Black citizens now need to be involved in every single aspect of it, because it's involving you, and they doing this little shady stuff on your behalf. I cannot wait to hear what you got to say about this. So, while I will continue to call Donald Trump out for any illegal wars and any devilish stuff that he and his administration have been up to, family, we cannot conflate sitting those that are criminals that come to this country illegally. We can't conflate that being going to Guantanamo Bay. You should see that threat you should see the possibility of being there as a deterrence not to violate the law. And more importantly, you need to remember that we who are Foundation of Black Americans have torture chambers here in this country. And some of our people, after decades and decades, have recently received reparations checks because of the torture in Chicago. In fact, some of the reparations, and you can research this yourself, I've talked about this on other platforms. I've talked about this over the years. I'm not new to this. I'm true to this. I've set the precedent for a lot of the stuff that I do, baby. And I have discussed the fact that some of the reparations packages that they had to come up with for those torture victims in Chicago, look it up, in Illinois, look it up, includes education, and yes, some of it is actual checks, which still is nothing compared to the torture that some of them have dealt with for decades here in this country. America continues to make war on my Black family here in the United States, and it has effects around the world. So I want to say to the people around the world that wants to come here and they want to decry what you believe is crazy to talk about Guantanamo Bay, let me ask you, what do you think about the torture chambers in Chicago? Just one that I just gave you receipts for. What do you think about that? And while we talking about Chicago, what y'all think about y'all's Democrat mayor that has put illegal criminals ahead of the Foundation of Black Americans? He's already under scrutinization investigation on the federal level, and they're already asking for a whole bunch of documents. I wonder if he's going to comply with the House committee in Congress when locally he's been messing y'all over and have been refusing to be transparent. That's based on the very document that we just gave you and proved to you in no limited time from the inspector office. He's taking whiskey in size 14 shoes and Kate Spade handbags. Quote, on behalf of the city. And y'all the city. Did y'all know about that? Y'all stay in touch. Be sure to follow me at VickiPlanet.com. That's my website, VICKIPlanet.com, to check out my low-cost monthly school. I break down wonderful things to my students. I'm always up to something great, and I have a store there as well. Family, also be sure to make sure you tap in tonight for Brother Fields live at 8 p.m. Eastern. And family, thank you all